This episode of Back to the Roots podcast is brought to you by Byron Seeds. The folks at Byron Seeds believe organic requires a different perspective, plan, and approach. Organic isn't simply a different type of product or even a different way of farming. It's a different way of thinking, planning, commitment. It's a different philosophy on how to feed the world. Many won't understand, but the people at Byron Seeds do. We're owned by organic dairy farmers. We not only have the product, but we plan, manage, and execute organic. We speak your language, we share your struggles, and we laud your successes. Organic isn't a way of doing business, it's a community. We learn from each other. We're in this together. We'd be glad to talk cropping plans, management systems, the road to profitability. We understand what you're trying to do. We're farmers just like you. Visit us at byronseeds.net or give us a call at 800-801-3596. And thanks to Byron Seeds. Back to the Roots is also brought to you by Soil Biotics. Soil Biotics Efficient is a fish-emulsion-based liquid organic fertilizer concentrate providing a rich source of nutrients that slowly break down and release nitrogen into the soil. It can be used in organic programs as an excellent food source for soil microbes. Also, SB Super Sweet is a unique new liquid formulation of natural sugars. It is a source of quick carbon consumption for feeding and increasing populations of bacteria and microorganisms in soils. Soil Biotics organic products are formulated to work together to provide a continuous beneficial growth environment to meet all of your organic agricultural needs. For product details, visit soilbiotics.com. Finally, we are brought to you by our newest sponsor, Elite Equine and Farm Supply. Elite Equine and Farm Supply strives to provide the equine world with the most innovative and highest quality health and wellness products on the market. Elite Equine offers the Equilume masks and stable light fixtures to horse breeders and performance horse trainers across the country. If you've been looking for top quality supplements for your horses, look no further. We have you covered with hemp supplements and the Tribute Equine Nutritions. Elite Equine also offers the most innovative horse blanket, which provides heat and massage therapy for your horse on demand. Elite Equine is located in the heart of Amish country, just a quarter mile north of Mount Hope, Ohio. Be sure to visit their website at eliteequineandfarmsupply.com or visit us on Facebook. And thanks to Elite Equine.
You're listening to Back to the Roots podcast. I'm Mike Klein, and along with Brian Wood, we are sitting down with Tim and Emily Zweber from Elko, Minnesota. They are dairy farmers, but also do a lot of direct marketing of meats and other things, as well as outdoor enthusiasts. So thank you so much for joining us. And could you just give us a little bit of a background of you and your farm?
Yeah, so I'm Tim,
and I'm Emily.
And our farm... It's been in our family since like 1906. My great-grandpa bought it, and they had an existing barn and a house there when he bought it, and he did cropping and cattle and dairy and pigs and chickens. So back then the farm was diversified, had a little bit of everything there. And they also did cash cropping, like wheat and things like that. And then over the years, our farm specialized down to dairy farming, pretty much just dairy farming. And the cropping we did was to feed the cattle, and the pigs and the chickens all left. And then we went back the other way, starting in the 90s. Started raising some beef cattle for ourselves and neighbors, and then we started raising some chickens, and then our neighbors somehow acquired a pig, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they walked it up to our place with a leash, and that was the first pig we raised. And from there, we're now raising like a couple hundred pigs a year, and
a couple hundred pigs a year.
Yeah, we raise a few. Yeah, I don't usually talk numbers too much, but yeah. We raise a few pigs and sell them to people. And and then our dairy that we transitioned to organic in 2007. We started the process to go organic in 2008, I think February of 2008.
Yep, February 14, 2008 was the first time the milk truck left.
Yeah, first time we met Patrick, the milk truck driver. And then, and since then we've further gone grass-fed organic. So on top of being organic, we also don't feed grain to the dairy cattle anyway. That's kind of you got anything that I forgot on?
Yeah, I mean, I think my husband's family, it's a very interesting story of, I think most farms have evolved that way. We're very diversified in the early 1900s because you were sustainable living. You had your pigs and your chickens and your dairy cows, and you were mostly feeding your family and then selling just a few extras to, for extra things or a little bit of income. And then, there was that big push through the USDA to, really diversify down and try to start feeding the world and stuff. And our farm has always been, and, Tim comes from a legacy of innovators and seeing opportunities where they are. And, our farm was one of the first farms to have a bulk tank, in our county. That was a big deal. His grandpa was one of the first farmers to start, artificial insemination on our dairy cows. I mean, we forgot
about that we were one of the first bulk tanks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we have semen records, from Holstein 07.
Yeah, stud code 1H07, and that's just because 1 through 6 weren't that good.
Yeah. So, it's... and then when his parents joined the farm again, it's always this, how do you think outside the box to make work where we live? We do live 30 minutes south of downtown Minneapolis. Our reality is we are surrounded by housing developments. We are a little oasis of agriculture inside urban development, and we aren't growing land base. We can't. And with that, you can't grow your cattle base because obviously
we can't just infinitely buy land and add more cattle as we're successful. You can only be so successful. $20,000 an acre is mighty hard to make a payment on, no matter what critter you're raising on it.
Yeah, so it's then when his parents took over the farm, when they're in their early 20s, and unfortunately his grandpa passed away young, and so his dad was kind of thrust into the farming on his own very, very young. And and
mom
and your mom, yeah, she was not from a dairy background, not from a farm, but just trying to figure that out. And that's when they started experimenting with grazing, 1980s. Who was thinking of grazing at that time? And that was not a thing in our area. And basically it was, kicking the cows out so they could, do, milking shifts or whatever with them. But that developed into more and more grazing. And a lot of this stuff, even with we'll get into our direct market story a little bit more, but we just experiment with these little things, and they just keep getting to be bigger things. And then they're just permanent things. And we go to these cycles where we're doing something that's really crazy. And the neighbors talk about us like, oh, look at the Zwebers, they're doing this. And then, 5-10 years down the road, our neighbors are doing the same thing. So it's it's kind of funny how we go from crazy to being mainstream to, and we don't like to stay in the mainstream very often.
We totally do steal a lot of ideas we stole a lot of ideas from Joel Salatin, so we didn't come up with them.
But we made those things work where we're at and with what we have. And so then when Tim and I got married and he graduated college and I was graduating college, and the discussion was for us to come back to the farm and what does that look like. And we couldn't increase our we could increase our cow herd if we wanted to. That'd be putting bigger barns on our property, and you'd be, a freestall conventional type system.
Buy a lot of feed
because we don't have the land base, which a lot of people go that route. But we chose to go the organic route because we were 90% of the way there. We grazed. We had no GMO inputs, those type of things.
Sprayed in years. Fertilizers on.
And the biggest push was just someone to do the paperwork. And so we agreed to do the correction. Tim does all of the paperwork. He deals with the inspector. None of us want to do that, so thank goodness for him.
We would have been organic a decade earlier if mom or dad had any interest in doing paperwork. But, which is funny because mom keeps track of our entire, like, you know, I said like 200 pigs, and there's a whole lot of chickens and a whole lot of beef, and all of those, she deals with customers and keeps track of who all those quarters and halves and stuff goes to, but she doesn't want to do the organic paperwork. That takes a lot less time.
I don't know about that.
Now, is your direct market stuff, that's also all certified?
No.
It's actually none of it is certified. So the only thing we certify is the dairy.
Okay.
Different reasons for that. When we first started direct marketing anything,
we weren't organic.
We weren't organic at that time. Also, sourcing organic feed has always grain feed was an issue early on. It's not an issue anymore.
It still might be an issue for us to get
the amount we need.
Yeah, and what we need. I mean, I'd feel silly buying feed that I had to truck from hours away in to feed pigs and chickens. It seems counter what we're about with like small and local to then go and like, well, because we want to buy a specific feed, we're going to buy it from hours away.
Yeah. So we buy non-GMO. It's all local. We don't do antibiotics, hormones, all the things like that. But so it's certifiable, but we just don't certify it. And we don't buy organic grains per se for our pigs and our chickens. Our beef, for the most part, is raised exactly as our dairy cows are. So they could be certifiable. If we do have like land that we're renting and we have to transition, we will feed the transition hay to the beef animals. So that helps that instead of having to sell that off farm and buy in stuff for the cows. So that kind of gives us some wiggle room and some options there. But with that, we have to do a lot more explaining. I mean, the organic label for the dairy is very clean cut. There's rules, and people understand for the most part, people understand what the organic label means and symbolizes. On the direct marketing side, we have to do a lot of marketing. I mean, we have to tell them exactly what it is. If people are asking if our product is organic, we have to be very honest that it isn't.
And I mean, that's why we're not organic, is because we're not sending the product off to a store and having people interpret what the product is. Mm-hmm. All the product is, we are directly handing it to you. So if you have any questions, we're answering them. So that's another reason why we aren't paying to certify the stuff, because we're doing all the marketing ourselves, not relying on another label beyond our personal brand for the marketing of it.
Yep.
So
go ahead.
As far as building that market of direct market customers, do you do like CSA type thing, or or boxes, or is it all just direct off the farm?
It's like we're always like, God, we should really do a CSA, and then we're like, we could put stuff in packages and we could sell it to people. And a couple of times we've done it, and like no one actually wants it. I think it's because we infrequently do. We're like, oh, we got a meat package that you get this and this and this and this, and like one person buys it.
Yeah. So for us, we started out with, the beef and then the pork, and the chickens are a chicken. We don't do anything special with them. They just get a whole chicken.
You don't get chicken breasts.
We're very chicken breasts.
Morally, idealistically, and everything opposed to chicken breasts. All the best part of the chicken is gone. That is the worst part of a chicken.
Boneless, skinless chicken breast.
Wrapped in plastic. No thanks.
It's terrible. No. Especially when it's on a styrofoam thing wrapped in cellophane. That goes against everything I stand for in food.
You've just offended all the chicken breast lovers. But
people learn how to cook.
Well, I mean, that was a big part of it, is teaching people how to cook. So, we're selling, quarters and halves of beef and halves and wholes of pork, and we have really great butchers that we work with, USDA or equal to, that we work with those products, and that was booming really well. And that is the most efficient way to sell direct market, is to sell a quarter of an animal or a half animal or a whole animal at a time, because it's in and out. There's less labor with the marketing and that sort of thing. Where we got more into marketing was when we started selling more pork packages.
Not even that. Our chickens, people didn't know how to cook a dang chicken. We had so many people like, I don't know how to cook a whole chicken. I'm like, well, that skill has apparently been lost. And then we had the idea to have a blog with recipes and stuff. This
was 2008, so this was before like food bloggers were like a phenomenon yet. And we had started a website, and I started a blog at that time. And my first blog post was how to cook a ham steak, because our customers would get a ham steak in their pork package and had no idea what this is, because it's not something commonly sold in Minnesota grocery stores. And so I shared some of my favorite recipes, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And we've had, how to cut up a chicken, how to cut up a whole chicken, how to roast a whole chicken.
We are the #1 hit on how to cook a pork chop, aren't we? It's like the weirdest thing.
Oven-baked
pork chop is like, you get our farms, or you used to, I don't know, maybe somebody's like co-opted our SEO on that by now, but that got us so many clicks. Like, that was the thing that
like
people... How to cook a pork chop in the oven.
Oven-baked pork chop.
Super weird, but that got us so much. Like, you look on Google,
salt and pepper it, put it in the oven at 325 or 350 for like 15 minutes, check on it, flip it over, 5 to 10 minutes more, you take it out. Like, that is the recipe that I have on our blog, and it's like our #1 like
it has
recipe.
Gotten us so much internet traffic, it's insane.
That's awesome.
Rocket science right there.
But I think that is something that is lost, is how to cut up a chicken. Like all the different cuts. Now, when you butcher, let's say somebody orders a half of pork, are there the specific cuts that, or do they choose their own cuts? Or do you have a package?
That is part of what makes our farm special compared to like going. I mean, yeah, you can go to the butcher shop and get kind of what you want cut, but like we go through the cut list with the customers and go through and like, you want pork chops, like how thick, how many per pack, so you can have everything packed the way you want it, and how thick you want it, and you can skip things that you aren't going to eat anyway. If you don't like pork roast, you can grind that all up and make sausage, whatever. It's going to cost you $1 million in processing costs, because sausage is expensive, but dang, does everybody love sausage. So
I mean, when you guys butchered a pig, I butchered a pig with Mike and his brother, and I've bought hogs from direct market or people that raised them, and when even a person that is familiar with agriculture, when you go through the cut list and they're sitting there, do you want this or this? I don't know.
It's daunting.
Yeah, it is. It truly
is really good at it. Yeah. She takes people through it. She's like, you don't want that. You want this. This is what we got. And in the end, people are like, done.
Yep. Yeah. So we farm in, I don't know if this was mentioned, we farm in partnership with Tim's parents.
Yeah, John and Lisa
Zweber. And Tim's mother does most of our sales, and she does all the cut lists with customers. And I think that is what keeps our customers, because she's so good. She's been doing it for a long time, 15 plus years, 20 years.
We've been doing direct marketing at least.
Just telling her that we're a family who likes to smoke stuff. Okay, so then you want more roasts. We're a family who likes to grill, so maybe you want different flavored brats. Knowing that and working with so many customers, she can really pinpoint and get the customers what they want. And then when things come, we always stand by our products, and if something is not right, we switch it out. And it wasn't until a few years ago, 5-7 years ago, that we started doing individual cuts retail from our farm.
Yeah, other than the chickens.
Besides the chickens, and ground beef, which we've always done ground beef, and eggs. But eggs is not one of our...
Eggs is not a moneymaker. It just gets people. It just gets people there so that they buy other things. The problem is that eggs are so labor intensive, picking them up and washing them and cartoning them, and that's where all the money gets lost in it anyway.
Yeah. To get a fair price for your egg just on the farm, probably what, $5?
We charge
$6.
$5.
Yeah, we should charge more to actually cover our labor costs. But
I mean, we could be more efficient if we built better facilities and had the eggs collected easier and they were cleaner to start with, that we didn't have to wash them so much. And
but we have
if
free
the
range
chickens wouldn't go out and stomp through the mud and then go and stomp on all their eggs because they're free range, we let them out of the barn, and where they walk after they go out the door is not up to us.
But that's why people come and buy eggs from you.
That is why people
reason.
buy eggs, is because the chickens eat everything. Are your chickens vegetarian? No. Our chickens are everything-tarians. If it moves, hops, scurries, or sits still, they're going to eat it.
Yeah, I mean, our customers. So now we have a on-farm, store, and we've always brought the way we can work, because we go work with a USDA butcher. We can handle all the bringing the animal back, packages back to our farm. We have a walk-in freezer, so customers never have to deal with the butcher separately than us. So we're kind of this one-stop shop. You call us, we go through the cut list with you, we deal with the butcher, we bring the finished product back to our farm. You come out to our farm, you can see the free-range chickens, our yard goat.
You can pet the goat.
Our dogs, and people have that experience versus going to a butcher shop and never seeing our farm. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's been very important to have those quality butchers that we're able to. And every state's rules with direct marketing and all that are different. So we always encourage farmers to make sure you look into what your state is.
Check on what you're supposed to be doing. Don't go off of what we say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have butcher slots available whenever you need them?
No,
or do you have
I got to book them a year in advance.
Yeah, our beef, we have standing dates. So every month we have so many that go in, and then we've had that for years. Our pork, it used to be pre-COVID.
It used to be 6 months out. We're like, I'm going to buy some pigs. I'd like to book them for this time. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, we'd like to know a year and a half in advance. So those pigs' mother isn't born yet. But that's how it works. So I just book a bunch of pigs for 4 or 5 different time periods during the year, and then try to buy in feeder pigs that are going to finish in that amount of time, that they don't weigh 400 pounds like the ones this spring did, because the butcher date was a little later than and the pigs were born a little earlier than they should have been, and then they grew really well, and all of a sudden it's 300-pound hanging weights. That is a $900 pig right there. That is an expensive pig.
So your pricing, is that based on hanging weight?
Yeah.
Plus processing?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we pay the processing, because we're picking the stuff up from the butcher, because we don't think anybody a lot of our customers are from the cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the outlying suburbs, and telling them to go drive to a small butcher shop in Heidelberg, Minnesota is not going to work. They're going to be like, that's too far. I don't even know where that is.
So you take the animals to the butcher shop, then you bring everything back to your store, and then they pick it up and pay the hanging weight plus whatever you paid in processing.
Plus whatever processing. Mm-hmm. And we also collect deposits on stuff in case somebody goes and changes their mind after they've had an animal custom cut up for them in all sorts of weird fashions, and they're like, I don't got room in my freezer. You stick with that weirdly cut animal. We're like, well, we already had you pay for the processing, so now we're just going to go ahead and resell the animal to somebody else. Yeah. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it does. Sometimes people just disappear or die before their animals, but I'm not kidding. Sometimes people die. They bought an animal, and then we try to get a hold of them, and we don't for months, and finally their ex-wife calls us dude died. Oh, well, that explains why we can't get a hold of him. That's terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We'll just go ahead and resell that then, unless you want it, because he paid a deposit.
So I think getting a deposit is important, and then also pricing, being fair to both you and the customer is extremely important.
Well,
We've seen so many farmers
one of our biggest pet peeves, isn't it?
Yeah, one of our biggest pet peeves is farmers underpricing products because they think they need to compete with the Walmarts and the Costcos of the world, and you don't. You're completely different. It's a different customer. It's a completely different product. Not only are you selling the pork chop or the steak or whatever it may be, you're selling that experience, and they're buying into your mission and what you believe, and live on your farm and your philosophy of farming and stuff. So there is no shame in selling $9 bacon and $7 ground beef.
Walmart sells $9 ground
year,
bacon now, so you better
now
be.
We're actually with inflation.
Sometimes we're underpriced, which is not on purpose. People walk in, they're like, "You guys are cheap." We're like, "Toot, toot, toot, toot." Erase off the board. Yep, that's the price now.
As soon as that customer leaves, the price just went up significantly.
Yes, that has happened.
That has happened. Dude's like, "Man, I just paid $9 at Walmart. Can I have like 30 pounds of bacon?" We're like, "No, that is 5 pigs worth of bacon. You do not get that much bacon unless you buy roasts and pork chops and some other things." How about 10 pounds of bacon? You buying any roasts?
I like the roast. Throw them in the smoker.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching so now that we have the retail store as well on our farm, and so we hold back a few pigs with each group, and we hold back cattle, as well.
Quarter of a cow every
Quarter
time.
of a cow, and we've always had the ground beef that comes from our dairy. So that's just, cull cows, nicer cull cows go into that, and It's been interesting to see the ebbs and flows of which cuts and consumer preferences over the years. 4 years ago, there was no way we would ever sell an oxtail or liver or hearts or tongues or any of that
Sold
stuff.
a little bit of it, but not
little
like
bit. You'd
people
sell
didn't
your
come
liver
in
to
like specifically and buy 40 pounds of liver and all the kidneys we had. And we're like, I don't even know anybody ate kidney.
Yeah, and now we cannot keep organ meat
Really?
in stock or bones, marrow bones, or anything to save our
Yeah.
life. So, those things are super popular now, but we can't sell any pork roast. It's like,
It depends. Sometimes we do. All of a sudden, somebody comes and buys like 60 pounds of pork roast. You're like, holy crap.
And those are usually guys that smoke. They have a smoker, so
Yeah.
they're smoking.
I love smoking a big old pork roast in there and have some good smoked pulled pork.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Plus, it's an excuse to fart around on the patio for 12 hours on a nice Saturday.
Yes.
So have you also seen like the cuts of steak and stuff that evolves and changes?
Yeah.
Because I just recently, the last 5 years, found out about the picanha cut, which is a part of the sirloin steak.
Well, I don't even know
We're
about this
raising
cut.
our eyebrows because we don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I just
Well, I might have to carry this, but if it makes my sirloin go away.
it's just a little part of the sirloin.
Oh, okay.
Actually, the good part of the sirloin.
Oh, gotcha.
So what do they do
So-
with the rest of the sirloin then? Is that
Grind
just
it, I
ground
suppose.
beef?
Well,
Stew meat.
I just get the whole sirloin, and then when I grill,
Oh, and you just
I just
cut it
cut
out.
the picanha off
Oh,
and do the
okay.
sirloin and the picanha separate, and they taste, because it's two different muscle groups. It tastes completely different.
Yeah. So that's
It's like the fillet of the sirloin.
Yeah.
So-
It's like taking a strip, New York strip, and a tenderloin out of a T-bone. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and just season wise too, being. You can tell there's 2 times of the year that we can really sell hams, and the rest of the year we can't.
Right.
It's Easter and Christmas.
There's the occasional person who actually eats ham like outside of Easter and Christmas, but they only buy it in like quarters or ham steaks. No one buys like a half a ham to eat on Sunday on sometime in June. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, so unless it's Easter, Christmas season, we get everything cut into ham steaks, which now is 2008. No one knew what a ham steak was, and now it's one of our best sellers.
So many of them.
It's crazy because you can just fry that up or grill it or whatever, and it's easy.
And that's part of the experience of shopping with us is that like we go through like just name a meal and I'll give you a thing to make it with. And that works really well. People come in, they look at the board, they're like, I don't know what we want. I'm like, name a meal. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I'm like, dinner. Like, steaks or what else are you thinking? Depends on how many people and how fancy and how quick. Quick. brats. Buy brats. Brats are quick.
We also have really good hot dogs.
Hot dogs, yeah. When there's kids, I'm like, we got hot dogs. And their parents, you got hot dogs? Yeah, we got hot dogs. And they're really good.
I got I shot a deer this year and had the whole thing put into hot dogs.
Oh, really?
With cheese and jalapenos in it.
Nice.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
They're amazing.
We have a smoked jalapeno cheddar brat that we sell that is so good.
It's just a larger version of that. Yeah. And it's delicious.
Good.
You put that in a bun with just
There's
some
something
ketchup.
about having just a fire going and throwing brats on an open fire. I think is just there's something about that that's hard to beat.
Yep. So.
And one of my favorite meals is just red beans and rice with kielbasa in it. I know like andouille or whatever, however you pronounce that sausage is what you're supposed to put in it, but kielbasa goes really well in it.
We sell that in our store.
Sell a ton of it.
Now, do you sell direct market any of the dairy, or is that all? The dairy is completely separate from the direct market, other than some hamburger.
Yeah. So it's our dairy is Organic Valley, so the truck comes every other day, and they pick that up and take care of that for us, so we don't have to worry. I don't know if we'd ever get into bottling or cheese making on our own. We have a lot going on.
Yeah, that would add an excessive amount of a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
and Organic Valley does a good job. So we'll leave that up to them.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that you are grass-fed now on the dairy side. So do you market that hamburger as grass-fed?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do, but we don't spend like a ton of time. Like, it's not splashed all over everything so much.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Like every time I mention what we sell, grass-fed beef, non-GMO fed pork, pasture chicken,
And why does
free-range
everybody
eggs.
that walk into our store ask me if it's grass-fed?
Because there's becoming a lot of confusion, and beef farmers are their own worst enemies when it comes to this grass-fed thing. I was told the other day by another beef farmer that if you label it as grass-fed, that means it could be grain-finished. So no, customers just don't know what it doesn't mean anything. So I put it out there, but it could mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. And so, again, that's why the education of our cattle are on forages from weaning on. No grains ever is something that we continuously tell that story, and we have to, because some farmers feed grain to calves, for a while, and then they switch, or they
finish them on grain, but call it grass-fed. Is that legal
Grass-fed
anymore?
is almost a little bit what happened to the natural label.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they're using grass-fed if they ever saw grass.
Yes.
Which is a bit disingenuous.
Which is really because when I because I raise all my own beef grass-fed, 100% grass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like when I look at grass-fed, that means no grain ever.
Correct.
It doesn't mean, well, I had them out on a giant pasture field all summer and then came in and fed them 35 pounds of shelled corn a day. That's not grass-fed beef to me. But there's a lot of labels floating out there in the grass-fed world where you won't know unless you actually talk to the farmer that is raising the meat, which is what everybody needs to get back to, is what you guys are doing, is have people have a connection to the farm where their food comes from.
Yeah. And my background is in marketing, and so that's where my skill set is in this whole equation here, besides milking cows and feeding calves and doing all the other things.
You have lots of skills.
But the thing, the
that is
expertise
something
I bring.
you're very good at writing words that people like.
Yes, I'm insane words that people like. So I get asked to speak more often than Tim does.
I am good at explaining the scientific how and why of what we do. I am not good at convincing you that I don't know.
Yeah, so my background's in marketing. Like I said, we started that blog back in 2008 and got, really deep dived into that marketing, that online marketing experience, and really focused on search engine optimization, which is your SEO. So if you're not familiar with what that is, if you type in any words in your Google search or Bling or Yahoo or whatever, how those websites are ranked to the top of that page, your search page is based on SEO, search engine optimization, and there's a lot of back stuff that happens in that website to make those links go up. And we've have such a history and so much content into our website that has really helped us over the years. I've actually weaned off of a lot of blogging recently, just because we just have so much content, and we're just adding some more things here and there, but just tweaking those tags and meta tags and
you made the investment 2 decades ago, and now like we don't have to invest as much into it.
Yeah. and I know there's a lot of emphasis on social media marketing, and frankly we're not seeing the return on investment there.
We do get a lot of people out of Facebook though, like new customers.
Correct. But there's chasing all these new platforms and doing all these little things, and for us, our real return on investment is still word of mouth and email marketing.
List.
Email marketing is like our number one thing. So you get people and search. So people search grass-fed beef sold near me, local farmer near me, whatever it may be. Our name pops up in those 1 through 5. We're usually in the top, and then right on our website, they can click and get in our email system, and then they get emails from me. And I'm not like a crazy email marketer because I don't have time. So they'll get an email once a month, and people don't tune us out because we're not sending so much stuff all the time and filling up their junk boxes. So they see
we're not REI.
We're not REI or Kohl's or JCP, any of the things you sign up for, and you're like, please don't send me anything. But
I appreciate knowing that you have stuff, but I don't buy any of the stuff that you email me about.
How did I get on this list in the first place?
But that's really a driver for us, because we've played around with we'll do open house. We do most of our business for our retail store is appointments. So you call us, email us, message us through Facebook or to set up an appointment, and you come and do your shopping. But we do once a month where we have open house hours, and people can just drop in.
And that's been wildly successful.
And if I forget
lately
to send out the email and I only post it on our social accounts, we get about half the traffic.
If we don't send out an email, it is not nearly as good. Facebook wants to make their money by making you pay for ads, and we don't. We just post it on the Facebook, and it's the people that Facebook deems worthy of seeing it see it, and everybody else doesn't.
You're saying that they might be shadow banning?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's not a company set up to make money. Gee, weird, huh?
No.
Yeah, I mean that's
we know the game.
Yeah.
That is their business model, and we don't play the game, and it doesn't profit us as much.
So, and are you trying to always expand your customer base, or are you're not like at a maxed out spot now with the direct marketing
We
side?
really haven't. We can always, like pigs and chickens, you can always, it seems like the chickens and the pigs, like you could raise and market more of them than you can, how would you say that? Like the return on, you could keep raising more and more pigs, but the amount of effort that it goes into marketing the pigs goes way up after a certain number. And like we raise so many chickens, and that's kind of where we max out without putting in a bunch of more effort to sell another 200 chickens,
Yeah. So we do about 1,400 broilers on pasture between May-ish and October-ish.
You stagger different flocks?
Yeah, we do like 300 birds at a time, do like 5 groups of 300 and some birds.
Is it all Cornish cross?
No, we do some the Freedom Rangers from
Those are awesome.
They're great birds.
I love those.
Yeah.
Although I still lament that we can't get those red French birds that we got one time.
Yeah,
but
we got these. Yeah.
they were like Freedom Rangers, but they were better. And we could only get them. We only got them once. We're like, we want these again. And then the guy that got them couldn't get them again. And
yeah, they're from Quebec, so there's some French.
The dang Quebecers.
Yeah.
Keeping their chickens to themselves.
And then COVID and border shutting downs and all the things, but.
You haven't gotten to the point, or like adding on to Mike's question of what I see a lot of direct marketers do is they'll hit a certain point or size on their farm, and then they'll wind up going to somebody else to raise some pigs for him or buy.
Yeah, we are getting to that point on beef where we can't really raise too many more beef because there's only so many acres for the dairy cows and the beef. We could cut the dairy back and raise more beef or do more dairy and less beef. I have a high school friend who raises 5 steers on his pasture behind his house, and I buy 3 of them and sell them because he raises them grass fed and they just go in his kid's college fund. So I buy 3 steers off of him a year, and I've bought a couple from other people that I know that do grass fed. Pigs we haven't done just because we haven't bumped up on our maximum amount of pigs we could raise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've hit that on beef. Chickens, we could raise more chickens.
Yeah.
Is your beef a beef breed, or are you raising dairy steers?
We're doing crossbreds of whatever the dairy cow got bred, or whatever the dairy cow that got bred to an Angus is.
Okay.
So it's half Angus and half who knows what.
Okay.
Some combination of either Holstein Normandy Jersey, Ayrshire.
Our dairy herd, we have some crossbreds.
Yeah.
But most of them actually are Holstein Angus crosses.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few of them.
Yeah, so we natural service our dairy heifers because they're at a different location, and so we just run an Angus bull out with them, so we don't have to check for heats and all that stuff. And
who wants to chase heifers around a pasture and run them in a corral every other day to go breed somebody 20 miles away from you?
Not us. So.
Not I.
Our bull does a great job.
I enjoy taking the motorcycle over there. I go and I let them into the next paddock, and I say, "Good job, Frankie. Keep it up, buddy.
That's the name of our bull.
Good job, heifers. Keep eating. Keep growing. All right, well, I'm going to go home."
And then we also we AI all of our dairy cows that are on the farm, obviously, that we're milking, and our low producers or ones that are hard to get bred, we'll AI to Angus as well. So about 25% of those get Angus semen in them.
Yeah, so we got a lot of little black calves running around the farm, but dairy heifers haven't been profitable to raise for a good decade and a half, so we only need 30% herd turnover rate and a herd of 90 to 100 cows. We only need about 30 heifers a year, and we're calving in 120 animals a year almost. So 3/4 of those animals could be black and any breed or any gender, and we don't care because we don't need more than 30 heifers a year to keep the herd at its size. So,
and you're keeping the replacements out of the cows that you want replacements out of in the herd. Are you using sex semen on the dairy cows?
We do, because we don't want Jersey bulls. They're worth nothing at the sales barn, and
I think they cost you $10 now to take them to the auction in Ohio. Serious. They'll charge you.
Nah, we still get $20. Somebody throws us a token 20 or something for a Jersey bull, but everything is, we're all crossbred, so it's hard to tell what on earth those things are anyway. We have what would you say, maybe 25% of our herd is just straight Holstein still, and then we got 10% of brown Swiss that are registered brown Swiss for the fun of showing at fairs with the kids. And then the rest of them are all some mutt of Holstein, Normandy, Jersey,
Norwegian
Finnish red, Norwegian red, some version of that.
What made you go down the crossbreeding route?
It's all Brad Hines' fault.
I hope he's listening. Brad Hines' fault.
Which makes it, by
Les Hansen's
extension,
fault,
Les
probably.
Hansen's fault.
Those are two gentlemen who work for the University of Minnesota. They were professors of Tim when he was in college, and
when I was in 4-H.
In 4-H, and really promoting the crossbred genetics and
hybrid vigor and things, because all the Holsteins, are 20% related to one another. It's not that high, but it's not far from it, depending on whether you're super into show genetics, in which case I think you're always breeding a brother to its sister or something along those lines.
Line breeding.
Line breeding when it works.
If it works, right?
Inbreeding when it don't.
So yeah, when that was a big change coming out of college. That was one thing you really brought back to the farm
Well, Dad had been breeding to weird stuff. Like one time we got all these New Zealand bulls from Holstein Friesians from New Zealand or something. And it had two outcomes. The best cow ever and the worst cow ever. And I don't know why, but we had some of our best cows. I'd look back and they're like genetics. Like, oh, look, we had gotten this cow out of one of those New Zealand bulls we bought. And then look at this cow with her bag dragging on the ground. Huh, she's also out of one of them. But some of the cow families, some of the really good cow families came out of breeding to that, and some of the worst ones, but they left quickly. So,
So one thing I was going to ask, just on your location, being that close to a large city. I mean, there's been a big push lately of, as milk prices are down, or as any agricultural product commodity price is down, the push to diversify, as you guys have done. Could somebody in rural Michigan, let's just say, where
Winter, South Dakota, or
exactly that doesn't have that proximity of a large customer base, do something similar to what you're doing?
It's like, can a farmer that doesn't live where we live, obviously we're surrounded by our customer base. They can drive right to us. They drive home from work right by our place. It's very convenient. Yes. But you have to invest in that, the shipping, maybe delivery service, and really that the marketing piece has to be essential, because the word of mouth is not as... Your neighbor's probably already raising a beef for themselves and their cousin, and whatever.
Not always.
Not always.
It's getting to be that. I mean, I know more and more farmers in like small towns that we know that are direct marketing stuff to their neighbors. They can't get the prices we do because there's cattle all over the dang place. But there's getting to be less and less. It's awful hard to find a pig that you can buy that's not already pre-spoken for by Hormel or whoever. That it's hard to find a pig that you can buy nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's something that people can do.
Pigs and chickens especially sell really well no matter where you're located. The beef is a little harder just because there's a lot more people that... beef is just the nature of how beef is
the big
raised.
Industry, big ag is kind of almost their owning of all those animals have almost ate into their sales in a way. There's people that actually want to buy a pig from a farmer.
Yep.
And like you said,
You
it
can't
literally
get them 'cause
almost cannot happen.
They're all owned already.
Hormel owns them, or
you
Smithfield,
can't.
or whoever.
I mean, maybe if you know a guy who runs a big ass chicken barn, you could probably go and grab a chicken out of there and not tell whoever.
Do it away from the
Tyson
security
company.
cameras.
Don't tell Tyson that you stole one of their chickens.
We have a local guy that raises red wattles,
Oh yeah.
and he can't raise them fast enough. People
No.
just tear him apart because it's hard to find pigs for people
Yeah.
to raise.
Especially
Now,
this year.
Have you ever done anything with lamb or?
We have in the past raised sheep, and when we do, no one wants them, and when we don't have sheep, everybody calls for them. Same for goats, but we've never raised goats. It's just when my neighbors have goats, my neighbors raise goats, and actually they're a dairy farm that's gone and started diversifying into things. I mean, he does a bunch of custom square baling and stuff, but now his wife got into making goat milk soap, and they do a little bit of a bunch of things. And,
Goat? Okay. I was
they
thinking
have a
pigs, pig milk. So.
Yeah.
We switched species.
we switched species. Now we're on
new
goats.
soap is the pig milk
If
soap.
someone got into that, it's a hot market, I hear.
Pig cheese was pig milk cheese. There was, God, what was that on? It was on some NPR program. There was the ask any question, and the question was, why is there no pig milk cheese? And they went and found a person who's made pig milk cheese. And they're like, so why hasn't anybody else made this? Have you ever tried to make a sow stand still? When they're lactating, they're not happy with you.
That'd be a lot of inflation.
Yeah.
I just got 3 little baby lambs or we have a friend who she had quads and triplets, and she was sick and tired of bottle feeding 7 of them, so I bought 3 of them. Oh, they're adorable.
Bottle
I don't
labs
know
are so
anything.
cute.
I don't know anything about them, but I hope it's going to be delicious.
Good
They're
luck.
tasty, but keep the meat good and warm. As soon as it starts to cool down, it's like putting lip balm on. That's been my only complaint ever. Like, I love the taste of lamb until it cools off, and then you're like,
Oh, oily.
the fat starts to, like, you eat short ribs, beef short ribs, that suffers from the same problem. As soon as they cool down, you start to get like the greasy sheep fat turns greasy quicker when it cools off.
Yep.
So
Around us, goats are very popular just because of the migrant population in our area, especially around certain religious holidays and stuff. We get a lot of phone calls for goat. We've never dabbled in goat.
No.
I don't know. We don't have the space. Tim,
sure we do. We
Tim
don't
thinks-
have the patience for more than one goat. We have a goat. We have a secondhand goat that we acquired from our neighbors because I wanted a goat, and
He's
it
a
makes
pet.
me pay for my decision to acquire him every day. He either eats something or poops on something that he's not supposed to every single day.
So it's about that time of year where he's going to eat the daffodils.
Guaranteed
Yes.
he will eat every new thing that's popping up that
He
we
ate
love.
all my Christmas lights.
He eats Christmas
he
lights.
Ate the Christmas lights.
Yeah, so I had
Yeah.
nice containers out. I always put nice bowl containers out front for, holiday season. I wrap them in lights. It's all beautiful, and he ate them all.
First, he started with the lights. You'd think he'd start with like the greenery.
greens, no.
No, he ate the lights, and then he ate all the pine boughs and things. And then after he ate that stuff, then he ate like the sticks that were in there. And now there's nothing left in the pot at the end of winter, and he eats paper. He basically just eats tree products in all their forms, from the tree all the way down to a piece of paper.
Goats are browsers, not grazers.
He is definitely not a grazer. If you give him hay, he's like, I don't know what that's for. I'm going to go chew on this tree over here.
Yeah, for being naughty, he is our lowest labor cost animal we have.
I've
but-
never fed him once. It cost me $0 in food. Unless, of course, you consider the amount of...
Christmas lights.
Christmas lights are expensive feed.
Unless you consider all the beautiful things he's eaten and the value of them, then he's the most expensive thing we've ever fed. One of the two.
Yeah.
And he ate somebody's checkbook, and he's eaten multiple customers' invoices, and we don't know what else he stole out of people's car doors when they have them open. It's unknown.
Yeah. So we do tell our customers. I have a little paragraph on our website. What to expect when you come and.
Our goat. Expect
Yeah,
the goat.
we have the goat, we have cats, we have dogs. Just
Do you have a beware of goat sign?
I need one.
We need to get one. We want to pen him up, but then at the same time, everybody loves the goat because he's so funny, like eating all their stuff.
It's the experience.
the
This is where
chickens
the value added is the goat, the
Yeah.
naughty goat. Everybody needs a naughty goat.
Everybody needs a naughty goat to stand on the picnic table outside their sales office and be amusing. And the chickens used to hop in people's cars too. That hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah.
The chickens like to eat French fries that kids have dropped and stuff, so they go exploring the cars when people park there for a while. And the cats.
Yeah.
We haven't had a cat go home with anybody in a while. It's probably
That
good.
happened.
That's happened.
In the back of the
So
truck.
speaking of chicken, does the same butcher process the chickens for you, or do you have somebody else that's USDA inspected that does it?
We have different inspectors, or we have different butchers for all of our meats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's very little in Minnesota that will do chickens anymore. I'm sure that's the same in most states. So that's kind of an issue.
We at least have a small butcher that we can go to that's close. Like I know a lot of people I know from other states that raise chickens end up like trucking them hours to a big plant that they absolutely don't want to go to, but that's the only place that'll kill chickens besides themselves. So luckily, we've got a small locker plant in Denison, Minnesota that does the chickens, and that's great that we got them. I hope they keep doing it. Please keep doing it, Dory.
Yeah.
Because I know there's only 2 that are USDA.
The chickens don't have to be USDA inspected, thankfully, because we don't do any further processing on them. They're just whole chickens.
In Minnesota.
Oh, in Minnesota, because in USDA for resale, I have to.
Yeah, so we're not reselling to any, like, if we sold to, like, a B&B or something,
or a restaurant,
they couldn't get our chickens, because it's the equivalent of if we had processed them. There's funny rules in Minnesota regarding chickens. I don't know why, but there is.
Yeah, so, like, ground beef, chickens, if you're not further processing them, you can sell right off the farm and not
No,
be
the ground
USDA.
beef has to be USDA. That's been processed.
Oh, yes,
That's
yes.
been ground.
But the chickens doesn't have to be.
Like chickens, a whole chicken is fine, but like anything, steak, sausages, all that kind of stuff, if it's been cut.
Okay. So
Once
my
it's-
boneless, skinless breasts.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be USDA.
Get a USDA plastic around it.
on a styrofoam tray.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and you should have utmost faith in the place that did that. I'm sure that the
Absolutely.
never shut down plant that's always wet and humid is of the most cleanly.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah. The butchering is a big deal. It's something farmers really need to consider.
Thankfully, more people are getting into butchering.
Yeah.
It's like there's getting to be one of my friends from high school took over, or from college took over a butcher shop, which is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most butcher shops were shutting down for decades, and now there's more people getting into it.
There's mobile chicken butchering companies in Minnesota. They'll go to farms and have all the
Okay.
things. Yeah, but for like beef or pork, it's tough. It's
But I think that's actually one of the hidden blessings of COVID, was it made people get back to like wanting to know where their food comes from. Like butchering now is, look at the amount of YouTube channels and stuff about like the Bearded Butchers. I don't know if they're on
Yeah.
YouTube. They are just like 25 miles from my place, and like they are blowing up because butchering is a skill it's an
art.
it's an art. It's unbelievable.
I'm
You
not
know,
good at it.
Oh, I'm terrible. Like I watched a video on how to process a deer. Oh my goodness! As you know, I made hot dogs.
That's how bad of a job I did. I had to make it all into hot dogs.
But it's like people are now appreciating those skill sets again and
Yeah.
taking an interest. So hopefully we'll have more and more of these small butcher shops popping up, because there's a lot of people with a couple of acres that are starting to either raise a beef or have some pigs or something like that, which I think that's wonderful.
It seems like something that our generation and younger has, like, there was a big swing, kind of like our farm story, where there was a big swing towards specialization, and it swung back towards, well, I mean, there's still people who are swinging way the heck out there on the pendulum and milk 10,000 cows and whatever. You do you. But I feel like there's been a big swing away from like the let's buy TV dinners and know nothing about cooking and nothing, and all we do is go to our 9-to-5 job and we pay people to do everything above and beyond that. It feels like people have spent a lot more time investing in experiences in their education and like relearning skills that have been lost over the years.
Beef actually comes from a cow again, not just the grocery store, right?
Or beans and wild rice or whatever.
Have you seen that since, I mean, COVID? Like I'll just use my own example. I've had people that know that I work in agriculture that I would never have suspected that they'd be like, hey, do you know someone that might be able to get me a little bit of ground beef? Have you seen that bump and carry over?
Even
Man.
before COVID, I think
It's been ramping
this trend
up.
has been going on for a while. I think now, just back to artisanship, that we were talking about, and just people wanting to get out of that corporate cycle of things that just weren't making them happy, and just really, COVID, I think, just punctuated that. Or sped it up, I think, more than ever.
When
And-
Walmart ran out of potatoes, everybody was like, oh my God, where's the local potato farmer? And of course, none of them found the local potato farmer because there aren't local potato farmers.
We have local potato farmers.
And that scared people. Like, we had people literally trying to bribe us to bump them up in the beef list. We're like, no, man, it's 6 months out. Like, you cannot fill a freezer that you just bought today from us. That's not how that works. More power to you if you can find someone that'll do that. What if I gave you extra money to move me to the top of the list?
No.
That's not how it works, buddy.
But there is a price.
There probably is a price.
There probably is.
I could definitely find you a steer that I wasn't going to sell to somebody else potentially for a certain price, but we do have at least very high morals where the price is quite high.
Yeah. Well, even us too, like the mindset that a farmer has to be married to the farm 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you hear
we've gotten away from that.
Yeah, I mean, you hear these stories about these old farmers that they're proud that they never went on vacations, and they milked up until the moment of their wedding, and
then they milked the day of their funeral.
Yeah.
After the funeral.
I had to come home and milk before I could get lowered into the grave.
But I was going to ask about that. Like, I hear about all this stuff you guys have going on, and then, like Mike and I work with farmers, and a dairy farm on its own is a full-time job that is... And then you're adding in all this other stuff.
Yeah, and we've barely talked about the dairy, which is all the work on most farms.
Yes.
The dairy occupies a heck of a lot of man hours, let me tell you. And woman hours, and child hours, and high school part-time employee hours.
Yeah, I mean, so on our farm, just so people understand, like how the labor split is Tim and his dad obviously work full-time on the farm. My mother-in-law and I work full-time as well, but our skills are a little more switched, where my mother-in-law does a lot of the sales of the meat. A lot less.
That's her full-time gig, is answering phones and organizing the logistics and all that stuff.
Yep, and I do the marketing, email marketing, social marketing, that stuff, and then also work full-time on the dairy. And then we have 2 teenage sons that help out, and
a daughter who scrapes
who
manure and washes things and prances and sings, and eventually we'll get tall enough that we can make her do things. But currently it's easier.
That was a limerick.
It's currently easier to ask her brothers than... So she gets out of some of the stuff her brothers had to go through at 11 years old. We're like, kick a step stool down the parlor and dip the cows, kid. You're helping out because you're the only option. Grandma and Pop are gone. It's just us and we're behind. Help out.
Then we have 4 part-time people who work for us. I mean, all of them together equal...
One
part-time person.
Yeah.
We have found out over the years, and it was much harder trying to find one person to do multiple shifts when I could just get this one over here to do Sunday nights and this one over here to do Tuesdays and Thursdays, and because it seems like all the good high schoolers are in sports, and they want to do other things. I mean, that's...
No, they don't just want to work at our place 20 hours a week after school and then go home and do homework. Surprise.
Yep. So I do a lot of managing that and making sure everybody shows up for chore time when they're supposed to. And
you also are the HR or the people person.
I am the vice president of people.
So you have the farm set up in a way that you can get away?
Correct. Yeah. So we're kind of at this sweet spot where Tim's parents are still young. They're in their early 60s. They're still very active in the farm.
Dad milks cows like as often as he possibly can, despite being told not to sometimes. Like, take the night off. I don't want to milk cows. All right. Well, I'll go do something else then.
Yeah, so, we can get away with our kids for a little while, and everybody just kind of pitches in a little bit more, or they can get away for a while. We haven't all gone away together for something in years. That just hasn't happened, but we do have a family wedding. Their Tim's younger brother is getting married in the fall, and that will have to happen. We have to figure that
We all
out.
got to get away for like 2 days minimum at the same time, because it takes a day to drive to Colorado. So,
So we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're kind of at the sweet spot right now where we're at.
Mom and Dad
size-wise.
aren't retired, and our kids are still home, and so we can always like shuffle peoples and get away and go do fun things. Mom and Dad went to Florida and to
Hawaii
this year.
They're
and
big hikers. They like to hike and
get out and see the things.
yeah. They were just at Glacier and National Park and
we go hiking and camping and rock climbing, and that's what we try to get away for, is those things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to give our kids the experience other than just the farm. I think.
Mm-hmm. Are your kids into sports? Or are they into climbing?
Ballet and rock climbing. I mean, they've played baseball and what else? Soccer, track briefly.
Yeah, the boys are on a USA local rock climbing team, so that's like a club sport, not through the school, but through our local gym. And then our daughter's in classical ballet. So
We're just a weird family in general. We do all the unusual.
How did rock climbing start?
Because we were at a water park, and then some kid must have puked in the pool or something and shut the whole water park down. And we're like, well, this is dumb to be at a place that the only attraction is the water park, and the water park is closed. And there was a little rock climbing wall there, and we found out it was like $20 to go climb this 20-foot fake rock climbing wall at the water park place. Like, there's a rock climbing gym 10 minutes from here that I bet is probably $20 for an entire day.
and it was.
And we went there, and everybody loved it so much that we just kept doing it and found ourselves very much into it. And my brother had been doing it, and our one son had gone rock climbing with him a few times, and so
Yeah, we had all been out once to Colorado rock climbing,
yeah.
so we were all exposed to it. But it was that experience, going that one time. This was several years ago, and it became kind of a family sport. And it's a nice sport because we can all do it together, and we're all outside, and you don't have to. I'm not, as a mom, sitting on the sidelines cheering on my kids, watching them play baseball or whatever. We can all do it together.
We can just tell them, you guys go climb, we're going to climb, wall climb. You can't do that with soccer so much. I mean, everybody can play soccer, but not at the same time.
I feel like really old right now because I love being just sitting there watching other people exert themselves.
See, that's never been my style. I can't stand watching a thing I could be doing. This is why I'm not invited to participate in anything where I'm just supposed to watch it. Because I will make myself be part of it. Emily won't let me go help people with a thing, because eventually I'll be doing the thing with them.
Correct.
Pretty quickly, I'll be doing the thing with them, walking by perfect strangers running shovels. Hey, you need a hand with that?
Rock climbing's kind of become our family thing. The boys are super good at it, Tim included, and our sons compete on the team, and my daughter and I we're good enough.
Yeah, you guys are just fine.
What's some places you've gone?
Yosemite, the Black Hills, all sorts of around Minnesota. There's a bunch of little rock formations like Taylor's Falls and Red Wing, Minnesota, North Shore. All the most beautiful places that people go hiking. There's oftentimes rocks there that can be climbed.
So now are there, I don't know the vernacular, but are there hooks or stuff to hook your rope into in the wall already?
Some places there's already what you'd call protection or bolts put in the wall. So you go up and there's just rings in the rock.
Okay.
They look like, and you just clip a carabiner in there and you clip your rope into it. And as you go up, you just keep clipping the rope higher and higher. So if you fall, you can only fall as much rope as you have above that carabiner.
And then slam into the wall.
Hopefully not slam. Hopefully your belayer makes an easy cut for you.
Hopefully you don't sprain your ankle like I did last year, and
Have to be carried out.
I did not have to be carried. I just needed a shoulder, and then I proceeded to farm with a sprained ankle until it got better.
This is actually making me like a little nauseous. Just thinking of going up a sheer rock face with a rope and a little snap that you hope is going to hold you.
It's rated at 20 kilonewtons. You're good. You can only make like 2 kilonewtons. It's a factor of
Mike's rolling
10
his eyes.
You don't
safety.
understand my love.
Yeah, I mean, your biggest danger is stuff, rocks coming loose.
Yeah, your biggest danger is of things falling on you, more so than of you falling off.
Yeah. I mean, we now take vacations to go to places to rock climb. Like we've been to Puerto Rico. We took the kids to Puerto Rico this winter just to.
Oh, nice.
to
That
rock
was
climb.
Delta's mistake of giving you like 4 free tickets worth of airline miles if you spend money, which is not hard when you own a farm to spend money. That's pretty. That's pretty darn easy.
There was stuff you had to buy
I had
anyway.
to buy it anyway,
See
so
it
why
for
not
life,
get
yeah, all
why not
things.
get tickets to go to a beautiful place?
Yeah.
And like we were talking earlier, once you have your farm in Puerto Rico, I will come work part time.
Yeah,
Perfect. You can
I
be
don't
our
think I'll have
regional
a
man.
problem finding part-time people to help me out.
Especially during the winter months.
Not hurricane season. We'll call you
everyone-
for the hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun and it's one of those sports where you don't have to have too much pre-planning. Once you have all the gear, it's like, oh, it's a really nice afternoon and we got all our chores done.
Let's go.
We have someone to milk tonight, and his dad says, "Yeah, go take the night off."
And you have places like close.
yeah, so like the Red Wing, the Red Wing
Wing's
place
only
we,
an hour
we go
away.
is about an hour. Next closest one is about an hour and a half up to Interstate Park, Taylor's Falls.
Yo,
Like how high are these thingies?
Red Wing
Like
isn't very high.
45 to 60 feet. It's not super high.
You get out the
our
Black
silo.
Hill, yeah.
It's about as tall as climbing the silo. Which feels a lot taller, honestly, than when you're on the top of the rock. I don't know why, but the silo honestly feels taller to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you get out to Black Hills, you're doing
100 and some.
100 and some feet, and then you can get out.
Or-
You get out to the Rocky Mountains and the Tetons and Yosemite, and you're climbing.
14,000
You're climbing
feet.
thousands of feet, and it takes a day and some to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
So you're 1,000 feet up on a
not
wall.
me.
Oh, you can be.
So once you get up, do you have to climb back down?
No.
Yeah, you rappel down or you walk off.
some
It
will
kind of
walk
depends on where you're at. Sometimes you climb up. Like the sport of climbing is the silliest sport ever. We legitimately take the hardest way to get to some place that you can walk the backside of in like 2 hours. There's no reason to it, but it is so much fun. It's just like it's really complicated. It's as complicated as you want it to be. If it's too easy, like move over a foot and try to use the spot or try to climb up the rock where there's no handholds. Like that's what's fun about it is like the problem solving and the movement of your body. There's only so many reasons that you have to like get your foot up past your hips and rock up over onto it while grabbing some little tiny potato chip feature on a rock. It's
How many times do you have to fall until it's not scary anymore?
It's always scary.
apparently no, I'm not.
For me, it's always scary.
Until you hurt yourself, then it's scary
But
for like 6
when
months.
you fall, you know how to fall to keep from splatting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's what's going through your head the whole time you're climbing is like how high am I above the last thing that my last piece of protection you'd call it. And there you go. Is the distance I'm above that more than the distance to the ground? I better figure out a way to protect myself or I better not fall. There's places that are just in rock climbing, there's spots that are just do not fall zones. Like there's a ledge below you. There's no protection. You just don't fall. That's the answer.
You down climb.
Simple enough.
Yeah, I mean it's actually more dangerous the lower you are to the ground because of that you can fall. The rope drag
Once
or
you're-
whatever can fall and you will hit the ground.
Once
So
you're more than 30 feet up, unless there's like a big old run out of
Yeah.
no protection.
Or a ledge.
Or ledges, yeah.
We
But-
wear helmets. We wear harnesses.
and yeah.
That's not satisfying, Mike.
That's not making me feel better at all.
There's a reason that it's a sport that seems to be very, very there's tons of engineers and computer people that we climb with, and oddly lawyers, but I'm not sure why lawyers. They're just in there.
Yeah, but it's a culture that I would almost say that is
It's very similar to agriculture.
Organic agriculture.
Yeah.
We're these non-mainstream doing something that's a little more exotic, I guess.
But as well, you gotta actually think.
There's a high skill component to it.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Most people don't do it. And it's really, really honors originality, like authenticity, and like being poor.
Is that the common denominator there?
It is one of them.
Yeah.
That it, like, rock climbing culture really, really holds up like the people who live in a van and like they live for the thing they do, and that is agriculture.
Farming.
It's totally agriculture. Culture is really like, we really honor the people who really dig their job, like, because if you don't, you don't do it. Kind of both of those things.
That's one sport where it takes 100% commitment or you're going to hurt yourself.
Correct, yeah. Sometimes not committing is what's going to hurt you. If you hesitate, when you're going for a hold that's just out of reach, you fall.
That's the exact same as organic farming. I mean, if you're not willing to go all in,
Correct.
you're usually not going to survive.
You can't just half it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the crutch is not there.
Yeah.
Correct.
And starting small and working your way up is a very, very, very good idea in farming and rock climbing. Don't decide today I'm learning rock climbing. I'm going to climb El Capitan.
Yeah. And also the sharing of information. So in the rock climbing culture, like, everybody talks about the different routes, they're called. So where you climb, there's routes, and people are, what we call the lingo is beta, or the idea of what you're going to be stepping on and holding and that sort of thing. And everybody's very open about sharing that information. Like, we're all in this together. We want everybody to succeed. We want everybody to get to the top, and do it well. If you want that information, there's some rock climbers that just want to figure it out themselves, which is legit. And the same is with organic farming and just small scale farming in general. It's like there's
no
just this
one's
culture.
ever like, I'm not going to tell you how I did that. That is a secret.
Yeah, we're very open of. We want everybody to succeed. I would love to see more people do what we do,
and I think that is one of the most beautiful things about organic agriculture is nobody is trying to keep what works as secret because it gives them an advantage in the market.
Yeah.
Like, my success, I want to share for your success.
Yeah, and maybe in
we
return
all
you
want
can give me something that helps us all.
We all want the cattle to be the healthiest and happiest, and the soil to produce well. Like, it's not a zero-sum game where if one person succeeds, another person loses in agriculture. Like, everybody wins if there's something that makes us do well, everybody does well. I mean, theoretically, there's like a limit to how much you can produce and still have high prices, but that's why we all collectively work together and limit our milk supply to an extent, to the amount that our co-op can actually sell, instead of just crazily producing so much that we all lose money and go broke.
Yeah. So both those things are not. Like, it's no wonder that we like that culture. And
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You hear the rock climbing thing, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? But you give the background, and it's like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Still not sure you're going to convince me to climb a rock, though.
You might be surprised. I've taken a lot of people rock climbing.
Well, don't hold your breath on me. Because I watched multiple climbing documentaries, and I sat there
They
with
never end
with
the way
clammy hands.
Oh, we do too.
Dude, I climb all the time, and watching like the alpinist made my hands sweat that I was wiping them on my pants. And like, that is some hardcore stuff, dude.
I think I am fine with flat country.
We'll take you out bouldering. That's where it's just on big rocks and you fall on mats.
And the highest you go is like 10, 15 feet.
15 feet's too much.
We'll stick to the 6 foot ones then.
Okay. Sounds good. So. Well, hey, this was really enjoyable. This was a great conversation. It was really nice to learn more about your operation, especially the direct marketing thing really intrigues me, and also the rock climbing to see that you have hobbies outside of the farm. It was really nice to learn more. So thank you both so much for joining us. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks guys.
It was a great
pleasure.
conversation.
Yeah, this is fun.